the album of the week, it had to be Fat of the Land by the Prodigy. Given the tragic news of Keith Flint's death on Monday, I mean, it couldn't really be any other album, to be honest with you. And, 1997, this album came out, and for me, was just an absolutely landmark album. I couldn't think of like another album kind of from that era in the dance kind of category that was so influential. And as soon as the video for Firestarter came out, I mean, that was one of the most hugely influential videos and songs probably of that whole era. I just can't. I mean, you guys know as well as me. I just can't think of enough superlatives to sort of say about this album. So the photographer was Conrad Wuth. I hope that's how his name is spelt or pronounced. And Alex Jenkins was the art direction on this. And we're going to get into it now. So we're going to go through all this stuff now. So 1997, 1st of July, came out from XL Recordings, and the track list on this is just absolutely legendary. I mean, I don't think there's actually one song on here that isn't good. There is zero filler. Everything from Breathe to Firestarter to Minefields, Diesel Power. I mean, there's just so many great songs off this album, man. I still remember the first time I heard/saw Firestarter. Forever ingrained into my memory, Revive It. Yeah, this is it, man. Like, same as me, man. Like, I think it was 96. I saw the Firestarter video, and it just absolutely blew my mind. And I was like, what on earth is this? I didn't even know what dance music was at this point in time. I had absolutely no idea what dance music was. And it just, hey, Nick's here. Rock on, my man. Rock on. So we're at Album of the Week at the moment, Nick. And of course, it had to be Fat of the Land. Such a landmark album, as I was saying. And due to the death of Keith Flint on Monday, there couldn't be any other album this week, man. There couldn't be any other album. So released in 97. In terms of personnel, of course, Keith, Liam, Maxim were the main kind of guys behind this. I believe Leroy was in there too, but he was a dancer. He didn't actually have any involvement with the actual tracks themselves. But you can see some of the personnel here. And also they had, what's interesting here is there's a guitarist called Jim Davies who actually did the guitar riff for Breathe and Firestarter. So it's actually a touring guitarist and studio guitarist at the time came up with the iconic riff for that particular... That's a really cool emoji, Nick. It's like Batman. That's awesome, man. So Jim Davies was on the guitar and Gizbot on the guitar for Fuel My Fire. But Jim Davies is obviously the one who created that incredible Firestarter riff that we all know and we can all associate with. So let's get into some of the design stuff. So here we go. So I found a bit of information about it. There wasn't a whole lot of information about Fat the Lamb, which is kind of interesting. There's more information about Jilted Generation than any other kind of get out of the way. Any of the other Prodigy albums. So Alex Jenkins was working as an art director and basically took the photograph from Conrad Wuth, which is this photograph of a crab, and he effectively reworked the image of the crab to kind of have like a zoom kind of effect on it. And so he distorted the background of the image to suggest the crab is running threateningly at the camera, whereas in real life it was actually only 4 inches in length. So you can imagine, like, there's this tiny little crab, only about 4 inches. Nick, cheers, man. Thanks for the resub. 7 months in a row. You rock, dude. Thank you so much. Great stuff. Radial blur filter. Yeah, I think it must be something like that he used in Photoshop for sure. It looks very similar to a radial blur. So it was only 4 inches in length. So you can imagine this tiny little crab has become like an absolutely iconic sort of album cover. It is their biggest selling album to date, of course. So in terms of the photographer, this is actually the photographer. So this is Conrad Wuth. He is a nature photographer. What's really funny here is like he's a nature photographer. He's not like a rock photographer or anything like that. he just photographs animals and wildlife. And you can kind of go through his little portfolio. He's got all kinds of stuff in here. Little Crab just wanted his day of fame. Don't take it away from him. Bok Choy. Hey, man, good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So he's got some absolutely beautiful photography. Lovely stuff. Here, some stuff from Europe. Look at this, some flamingos. Flamingos in France. Look at this horse. Brilliant. Now you see, that should have been the cover for the next Prodigy album. That's what I would have thought anyway. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, this guy's been around, man. Look at this. He's got photos from the Caribbean. All kinds of... Look, here's another little crab from the Caribbean. Different kind of crab, obviously. I mean, he's literally been there and seen just about everything. I mean, there's so many different types of animals. Look at all the penguins and everything, man. Amazing stuff. Really amazing photography. And what is crazy is, like, you know, he's a nature photographer, but his stuff ended up on a huge album. So the actual shot itself, despite me looking through his website, is not there. So you can't actually find the shot on his website, which I can't believe that you wouldn't put it in your portfolio. Come on, man. Maybe he's just oblivious to it. I don't know. But you can actually find a print on Fine Art America. So this is not exactly the same shot. This is actually slightly different because the leg is actually sticking out here, whereas on the album, it's not. So you can see how it's not sticking out at all. So I don't know if this is the original shot, and then what they did is maybe they oh, there you go. There's a huge zoomed in version. So maybe what they did is take this picture. It looks very similar. I mean, for me, that is the same shot almost. He may have sold the rights to it. Yeah, man, that might be why. But that leg is ever so slightly different. But it looks to me like almost the same shot. Almost. Maybe it was like a shot, 1 or 2 shots behind it, maybe. Who knows? So you can actually buy this as a print for $26 if you want to, which is pretty damn cool. And then the other bit of information I found is this. So this is the original art director, Alex Jenkins. And this is a tweet he put out in 2014. So several years later, obviously, from the original artwork. So this is kind of like a alternative version of the Fat of the Land, which is actually a kebab. It's an actual kebab on like, I don't even know if it's on a spit or anything. I don't know what he's done with this. I think maybe it's done in Photoshop, maybe it's 3D. I'm not quite sure. So this is like the Fat of the Land cover that wasn't, which was a kebab stamped in with Fat of the Land. Can you imagine if this had been the album cover, man? Like completely different tone and everything. So it just shows you that sometimes you create stuff and it doesn't end up being the actual cover. You just, you know, it's just one of those things. I kind of like it as well, Revival Night. I'm kind of similar to you. I actually quite like this, but I do obviously love the original album cover as well. Just because it's just really iconic. I mean, I can't describe. It's just iconic. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a crab on an album cover ever again, pretty much since then. Not like that, anyway. So yeah, guys. So that's Fat of the Land by the Prodigy. I couldn't find out much more information about it, unfortunately. But it is just an absolutely iconic cover, as I say. And we weren't going to feature it for probably another few months at least, because we only just featured GLC Generation. But given the sad news on Monday about Keith, had to feature it. Okay, cool. So that is our album of the week this week, guys. Fat of the Land by the Prodigy, absolutely landmark album. And the artist / photographer was Conrad Woth and Alex Jenkins.